Hi guys, today I am going to be doing Ching number 158. I feel like it's been a little while since I've done a Ching. And then at the end of the video, when I do my little ramblings, I have a fairly large announcement, so I'm excited about that. But we're just going to get straight into this Ching. So I do feel like in my last couple probably Chings, you were seeing some vintage My Little Pony items selling, so I'm still listing ponies. I'm actually going to be having a My Little Pony whatnot show just to kind of get through these ponies because I just have so many still left. So let's just get started. The first thing I have is actually a My Little Pony outfit. So it was like a whole little clothing piece. It was called Pretty as a Picture. So it was like a little artist looking outfit that sold for $24.99. Next item, also My Little Pony. This was actually two different ponies that I put together as kind of like a bundle for someone to purchase. So they purchased both of those ponies and it came out to $69.98. I actually sold a vintage trucker hat. I feel like, you know, there was a big thing with like vintage trucker hats. They were selling for like a lot of money. This was a while back. And then I feel like it died off, or maybe I just wasn't finding the right vintage trucker hats. I don't know, but I definitely feel like there's been a decline in the popularity of vintage trucker hats compared to years ago. But you know, everything changes, everything goes through its changes. But I did sell this one. It was a Dewey Pile trucker hat that sold for $79.99. So I guess there are still some out there that are worth some decent money. Here's a couple more vintage My Little Ponies. This first one was called Starflower and it sold for $29.99. So some of the ponies did have their corresponding accessory pieces and then some did not. Next one was called Confetti Rainbow and that sold for $22.99. And then this next one was called Star Dancer and she sold for $12.99. And as with anything, not all ponies are created equal. There are some worth a lot of money and some that are not worth a whole lot. So next thing I have is this was just like a small little bonsai glass tree. I have very large versions of these. We actually sold a large version in the booth over like the spring area, I want to say it was, and we still have two more really large ones. But this one was a small one and it sold for $12.99. Sold an Empoli glass decanter, really pretty shade of blue, had its topper that sold for $125. Here's another My Little Pony. This one was a good one. Its name was Chocolate Delight and I'm pretty sure it had all of its corresponding accessory pieces, and that one sold for $99.99. Alright, next item. This actually came from Goodwill at some point. I picked it up. It was an Aztec burial kind of death mask made of abalone. Really, really pretty. That sold for $19.99. I sold a, sorry, I broke a nail and I have this really sharp bit. Oh gosh, that drives me nuts. I'm gonna have to follow it down afterwards. I have a brass vanity mirror. This was so gorgeous. It had like a lady figure on the side of it. It came from an auction and that sold for $49.99. I sold a couple, you'll see in this Ching, just like little accessory pieces and replacement pieces, and sometimes that stuff can add up. It's just real small, doesn't take up a lot of space in your storage, and you know, it sells for decent money just considering what it is. So the first thing was a Barbie shirt. This would have gone to like a Ken doll, but it was a My Scene, and I know the Barbie My Scene dolls can be like better. So just the shirt here sold for $7.99. I also sold one of those hanging wall mounted glass and mirror with the brass accents, little curio cabinet for, you know, your smalls, your miniatures. Picked this up at a yard sale, I believe, over the summer, and that sold for $54.99. I also sold a book. This was called The Perfect Sum by Frida McFadden. I read this book for a book club, and then I don't always keep every book that I buy or purchase, and you know, this still had value to it. I mean, I still paid more than what I resold it for, but it still had a decent value considering it was a book, and I sold it for $13.99. And it was a good book. Frida McFadden, I usually like her stories. Maybe not my most favorite author by any means, but her stories aren't bad. Let's see. I sold a skincare item. This was a Dr. Denise Hydro Shield Face Serum that sold for $79.99. I sold a stoneware lidded jar. Had that primitive kind of look to it. It had a black star on the front. That came from a yard sale, and it sold for $19.99. Here's another My Little Pony. This one was called Baby North Star, and she sold for $19.99. And then here's another little just Barbie piece. This was a cheerleading skirt that goes to the Penn State cheerleading Barbie, and that sold for $9.99. I also sold a Napco Christmas Angel Belle. When I went to list her, I didn't see any that looked like her listed, so I put her on auction. She came from an auction, and she ended up selling for $53. Also sold a lot of vintage from 1966 Thing Maker metal molds. These were all molds. They were called Fun Flowers, so they were all flower molds. Those sold for $24.99. Here's another just random like doll accessory. This was for a pair of Rainbow High doll shoes. They were like little green sneakers. Those sold for $9.99, and I'm pretty sure they came out of a baggie of doll clothes and accessories I picked up at Goodwill. I sold a Maddox of California. This was a ceramic double flamingo vase. Very, very cool. That sold for $39.99. Amelia just came in from a walk, and she's laying down on the floor. Poor girl. She had fun though, but it is toasty outside. It is the day before Halloween, and it feels like summer outside. It's disgusting. It doesn't feel like fall at all. It doesn't feel like Halloween to me. Next was a vintage Gillette safety razor that sold for $29.99. Eric has been liking to pick these up when he sees them. I sold a Lush soap in the scent Intergalactic. This came out of one of my Lush subscription boxes. I get those every month, and sometimes I get stuff that I'm not super duper fond of, maybe the fragrance or whatever. This one had like a very minty smell, and mint isn't like one of my favorite scents, but it smelled nice, just not my fave. Oh, so here's something if you don't already know about these. These are Scotch pop-up refill, tape refills. So these would go to, at one point Scotch made this kind of almost like bracelet tape dispenser that you'd wear, and then the tape would just pop up and you just, you know, get the tape, and so when you're wrapping presents and stuff like that, you don't have to like pick up the tape dispenser and, you know, fiddle with the tape dispenser so much. So apparently they discontinued that. I have no idea why, if it was such a great product and people are willing to spend so much to rebuy them so they can still keep using their pop-up dispenser, why would they not bring that back? I do not understand most businesses when they decide to get rid of stuff that obviously like people loved. It makes no sense to me. Anyway, if you don't already know about these, if you come across them, they sell for decent money. This was just one pack that had 3 tape refills in, sold for $20. So if you didn't already know, now you do. Let's see, I sold a set of 2 Boyd's plushes. These were both like gingerbread men related. The one I think was holding a little gingerbread man doll, and then the other one was shaped like a gingerbread man, but it was an ornament. So the set of 2 of those sold for $12.99. I sold a Fenton Carnival Glass Daisy and Button little top hat. So this, I think people use those for like toothpick holders. That sold for $19.99. I sold a glass perfume atomizer. This was just like a little mini one. That one sold for $12.99. I sold a hair care item. This was a John Frieda Root Awakening hair gel that sold for $14.99. This next item I had for a very long time. It was a set of drink coasters. They were made in Australia. You can tell by my picture because my picture was absolutely horrid looking. So they did take a long time to sell, but they did eventually sell for $12.99. I sold a set of Mosser green glass. These were a sugar and creamer little set. Those sold for $39.99. I also sold, this was like a reproduction Halloween card. It looked vintage obviously, but it was not. That sold for $9.99. The next 3 items all went to the same person. These were all Cat's Meow wooden shelf sitters, but they were all Halloween related. I still have a bunch of these. I got like a large box full of them at a yard sale. And the really cool thing about these, one, I didn't even know that there was a Cat's Meow like Halloween set. But what's really neat about these is that they all have like glow in the dark aspects. I'm pretty sure like all of them do. Maybe some of the smaller ones might not. But I don't know, it's just a cool feature since they were Halloween related that they glowed in the dark. The first one was a TP the Tree, I think it was called. That sold for $16.99. They also purchased the Little Hope Cemetery for $14.99, as well as one called Giggles and Goblins for $12.99. We sold a Guns N' Roses shirt. This one was from 2005, so not like real vintage. That sold for $19.99, came from a yard sale. As well as this next item from a yard sale. This was by a company called Northern Angel. It was a really pretty kind of longer sweater, and it had a really pretty like Aztec design on the back of it. That sold for $49.99. I sold a Mexican wood beaded eagle. This thing was pretty large, came from an auction, and that sold for $59.99. Sold a vintage Polly Pocket Compact. Pretty sure this one was complete. It was the fast food burger stand, and it sold for $59.99. Sold a set of 2 vintage Pixie knee huggers for $39.99. One had like this gold kind of top hat, just different looking, not the usual that I see when it comes to the Pixie knee huggers. Next item was by, it was marked Joanna, Joanna. It was a set of 2 Native American head wall hangings. Eric and I picked these up at a yard sale, and those sold for $39.99. Also sold a carved antler belt buckle that had an elk on it. And this also was signed by the artist who carved it. That sold for $49.99 and came from an auction. Sold a set of vintage pillowcases by a company called Shell.Belle. Those sold for $19.99. Here's another vintage My Little Pony. This one was called Happy Tales, and she sold for $9.99. Also sold a Precious Moments figure. This one was Little Mermaid themed. Picked this up at a yard sale at one point. That sold for $44.99. Next item came from an auction. This was a clay pottery bell by an artist named Ray Snyder, and that sold for $29.99. Next item was just like a little replacement piece that went with a doll called a Love-A-Bella doll. It was just a little feeding spoon. It's kind of like an interactive type of doll, so this was her spoon, and that sold for $22.99. The next, actually the rest of what I'm going to share in this cha-ching all went to a subscriber named Bianca, and she went Halloween shopping. So she purchased 2 of my Catherine Lily White Halloween ornaments. The first one was a cat with a wire hanger that sold for $12.99, and the next one was also a cat with a pumpkin, a little bit smaller, not with a wire hanger, just with the string hanger, that sold for $9.99. And then she purchased a set of 2 of these next ornaments. One was a pumpkin and one was a black cat. They kind of like a paper mache type of material. Those sold for $26.50. As well as a Halloween tree. This was by a company named Silver Willow. They make really awesome stuff. That sold for $69.99. She also purchased a little Wicked Witch mini paper mache bucket that sold for $14.99, as well as a jack-o'-lantern style bucket. Had like a vintage look to it, and that sold for $19.99. So I am a little bit behind on my cha-chings because it's been a little while since I've done them. So I gotta just start back into getting more of my cha-chings done, because here soon I'm gonna be having like what's sold in our booth for October, since we're pretty much at the end of October as well. So as far as eBay goes, I'm down 10.8%. I do feel like sales are still spotty to me. I feel like some days they pop off, and then some days it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like nothing's selling. So, and I do think, I mean, I know we are getting towards like the end of the year and all, and that's when I would assume things would, you know, just kind of be better. But it is getting close to the election, and I feel like that kind of has something to do with it as well. So hopefully after that's all said and done, maybe things will pop off again in a little more steady of a pace. I have no idea. So just taking it day by day, really. I mean, I'm just thankful for any sale that I get, basically. And, you know, like I said, I'm still trying to sell on Whatnot, and, you know, obviously we have our booth, and I do on occasion still get sales on Mercari. But I don't really actively list on Mercari. So what is listed on Mercari is just what's listed, and when it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't actively post on there, kind of thing. I should, but you know, it's just one of those things that I sometimes just don't really put a lot of time into doing. So I guess I don't really have a whole lot to talk about with eBay. You know, things are still just kind of chugging along, sometimes at a little bit of a quicker pace than other times, but still chugging. And that's, I think, partly due to me as well. Like, I try to list at least something every single day but sometimes I don't get the chance to do that. And sometimes I could definitely list way more than I do, but I just choose not to because, you know, I'm doing something else, or I'd rather be doing something else. So a part of it, you know, I have to blame myself for as well. I have to take a little bit of blame for it. But that leads me to my announcement. You guys know that Eric and I have an antique booth at Yesteryear in Hanover. That's, well, my hometown. I don't live there anymore, but it's my hometown. And we're getting another booth at the same place. So expanding, which we're really excited for because, you know, we have so much stuff, you guys know. I mean, we're like at auctions all the time, especially even when, like, you know, it's not technically yard sale season right now. So we just buy a lot at auctions and things like that, and we have so much inventory. It's just insane. And you know, you can only put so much in a booth, and we're having a lot of fun with it, and you know, I think we're doing okay. It was never something that we thought we'd make like a whole lot of money on or anything like that. It was just gonna be for fun and, you know, make some money along the way. And that's pretty much like what it's doing, and it's been a blast, and we really wanted like another space, just some more space so we can bring in more stuff. We are just really excited to be expanding the booth. It's something that you know, we really enjoy doing. We're having so much fun with it, and we just want to be able to offer more. So we have been purchasing and looking for some like furniture pieces, you know, to put in there to display our stuff on. We did pick up 2 shelving units in a different town. We drove quite a ways to pick them up. So we found those, and then one day at Goodwill found a table. It's the same exact table we have in our booth right now, like in the front, that matches our 2 large bookcases. So now we have a second one of those we found at Goodwill, which was just amazing. And then we do like want to find, and we're still trying to find, and like we don't mind paying up for, you know, a nice display piece of furniture that we're gonna constantly use, you know, in the booth. Trying to find a display cabinet of some degree that has a lockable feature on it, or, you know, we could install a lock on it. Just because we do have some things we really want to take into the booth that we just can't have people like constantly touching, and one of those things is those Viking long tail glass birds, the ones that have those teeny little skinny long tails. We have a ton of those that we want to put in the booth, but we just can't have people like picking them up, and you know, the tails are just so fragile, you know what I'm saying? So definitely trying to find a cabinet that we can lock just for like the real more delicate kind of things, so that we can take them into the booth and offer them for sale, because they're not doing us a lick of good being here in my house, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not looking to keep them. I want to sell them. Eric is a little hesitant about shipping them, but I mean, if it comes down to it, if they would happen to not sell in the booth, then, you know, we would ship them, but, you know, we'd rather not if we can get away with it, kind of thing, because, you know, the postal system has destroyed some things. They actually just destroyed, I had sold a set of Left-In, the Bluebirds. They were egg cups, $100 egg cups. They completely demolished, so that's always fun, the postal system. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I really wanted to talk about because I'm just so excited. I knew for a little while now that we were expanding. There's actually a paper up in our booth currently that says we're expanding, but I just didn't really announce it here on YouTube. I think I mentioned it in like one of my Whatnot sales when I did like a shop our antique booth on Whatnot. I think I might have mentioned it in there at some point. So some of you probably already knew from being in like one of my Whatnot shows, but yeah, so just super exciting. And I know that there are some subscribers who, you know, are local to me that do shop in the booth. So if any of you guys are watching, hello. I know I just ran into Pat up at the Gettysburg Rebels Roost, and I know she shops our booth. I know she's always looking for McCoy, so like now I have it in my head to keep an eye out for McCoy stuff for her to put in the booth. And yeah, like if any of you are local and there are certain things that you would like to see us potentially like look out for, like if it's something that you are always on the lookout for or collect, like let us know, because sometimes we come across stuff like that at auctions, and if we can get it at a decent price and still sell it, you know, at a decent price so you're also getting a deal, then like I have no problem looking for certain things specifically to put in the booth for you. Same way if like I have something listed on eBay and you want to purchase it, but you know, wouldn't make sense because, you know, to ship it, I can take it off of eBay and put it in the booth specifically for you. So that's also an option if you are local to me and want something. But anyway, I think that's pretty much everything for this video. I feel like I ramble so much at the end of these videos. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Let me know how things are going for you, how you feel your sales are doing, whether that's on eBay or any other platforms that you do resell on, and just how things are in general. Hopefully everyone is doing good. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So I will see you next time.